Well, Disney's done it again. Now, I'm pretty sure most of you know, but a while ago, Disney hosted their D23 convention or expo or whatever it is, basically revealing their next movies that they're going to be making for the next couple of years. And they're all sequels. Yay. But honestly, in typical Disney fashion, majority, if not all, of the movies that they announce are sequels, and some of them are even trilogies or even more extensions of movie franchises that they've already been making movies for the past like 30 fucking years. Now, a lot got announced: Frozen 3, Toy Story 5, another live action Lion King, but I think this one is a prequel, Moana 2, Incredibles 3, Toy Story 5, Frozen 3, the live action Lilo and Stitch, the live action Snow White. Like, a lot of stuff got announced, but I really only want to talk about the Toy Story 5 and The Incredibles 3, because genuinely The Incredibles 3 and Toy Story 5 were the most surprising to me, because genuinely at this point I thought we had done every single thing that we can with Toy Story and The Incredibles, especially Toy Story. Those are going to be the main two things that I kind of want to talk about today, because those are the most confusing and the most interesting movies that they announced. The other ones are kind of meh, but we're just gonna yap about it for about 10 minutes.
Now a word from our sponsor.
Hi, before using Dubby, I was a father of 12. But now, after Dubby, I'm a deadbeat dad.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Let's see what we got in here for the Dubby. Bit Dubby! We got the motherfucking... We got the motherfucking... We got the motherfucking... Oh, shit. So the first flavor of Dubby, we have peach and beet.
You what?
Second flavor of Dubby, we got the dragon mayo. Next flavor we have laxative.
What?
Laxy grenade. Next flavor we have this is a zero sugar powder pack. And last but certainly not least, we have Heinz Berry Splash. I'm Wasabi, and this has been your Dubby advertisement.
Now, I've grown up with both of these movies. Obviously, you know, Toy Story coming out just a little bit before I was born, but I've grown up with both of these movies, and I've loved both of these movies. I love Toy Story 1 through 3. The Incredibles 1 and 2 are great movies. The Incredibles 2, I'll get into that a little bit later. But genuinely, like, I love these series, and there's nothing really bad that I can say about them, except the fact that they keep reviving them, just like they do with everything else that Disney does. Because we all know at this point, Disney does not make original movies, and when they do make original movies, they're the most generic piece of shit. Like, what if water people and fire people were in one world? Can they coexist? Like, it'll be the most generic shit that you could possibly fucking think of, and there's really no like nuance or real substance to it. And no, I'm not saying these are the worst movies in the world. There are way worse movies than, you know, Elemental and shit like that. They're just not memorable movies like the shit that Disney and Pixar used to make, right? But if it's not those types of movies, then it's a fucking sequel, a trilogy, or, you know, insert random movie name 5 here, because they don't really make original shit anymore. Everything's a sequel, everything's a trilogy or multiverse or anything else up under the sun that's not original and that's not memorable. Prime example, Toy Story 5. Nowhere in my life would I ever think that I would be saying we're getting Toy Story 5 soon. A series that, for all intents and purposes, could have stopped at the first fucking Toy Story. But Toy Story 2 is cool. Toy Story 3 comes out. Again, a great movie and the perfect ending to a great fucking movie series. Andy grows up, goes to college to become an adult. The toys get a new owner. Everybody's life is fine, everybody's happy, everybody's good. But no, they revive it for Toy Story 4, and now we're looking at the adventures of Woody and a spork with fucking yarn on its face and shit. Now we're at Toy Story 5, which who knows what the fuck this movie's gonna be about. Like, who fucking knows at this point, right? But genuinely, this is one of the biggest issues that I have with sequels of long running movies. Is like, movies will have sequels and trilogies, which is fine, but once that movie has a definitive ending to where if there were no more movies about this series, nobody would care, because the story has been wrapped up nice in a nice little present to where we can say, this is the story, this is where it begins, this is where it ends. Toy Story had that. Toy Story 3 was the perfect ending to pretty much a perfect franchise. Like, there was nothing really that I can complain about with the first 3 Toy Stories. They were great. They were great fucking movies. One of Pixar's best, you know, franchises that they've ever fucking made. But the fact fact that they kept going and they're still probably gonna keep going. Shit, we might be getting Toy Story 6 within a couple of fucking years. But movies and TV shows and any series that end up having a definitive ending, but then they're like, nope, there's more. Like, I hate that. I hate that with a fucking passion. Movies and TV shows need definitive endings, and that needs to be it. Hell, even the fucking Matrix. Whether you like the old third Matrix movie or not, that was a definitive ending to where we can say, okay, this universe and this movie series has been wrapped up. Could have been wrapped up better, but it's been wrapped up. There was no need for a fourth movie. And just like with Toy Story, there was no need for a fourth movie, and there's no need for a fifth movie, because once you just keep adding on unnecessary story bits after unnecessary story bits, the original story just gets lost, and now it's just adding new shit just for the sake of adding new shit. Like if you have a sandwich and you have like 2-3 toppings on it, like you got your lettuce, you got your tomato, you might have, you know, some mayonnaise on that motherfucker, but then somebody adds banana peppers, then oil, then vinegar, then fucking pickles, then bacon. Like, it's just too much shit. It's just too much shit between two pieces of bread. And just like with Toy Story, it's too much story between a very simple story that concluded about 10 fucking years ago, mind you. But because Disney does not give two fucks about that, they're gonna keep adding more story to it, even though it doesn't need it. They're gonna keep going and going and going until they get tired, or until the movie flops and nobody gives two fucks about it. Now, I want to move on to The Incredibles. I might circle back to Toy Story, but I want to move on to The Incredibles. Apparently, for some fucking reason, we are getting a third Incredibles movie. Why? Why? A third Incredibles movie? The only reason we got an Incredibles sequel is because they left us on a cliffhanger at the very end of the first movie 20 years ago. We finally got our sequel that wrapped up everything in a nice little box. Could the second movie have been a little better? Yes, but that's really just getting nitpicky about the sequel. It was a great fucking movie. I was happy with it. We do not need a third Incredibles movie. There is no point in having a third Incredibles movie in the slightest bit. Hell, I would argue if we never got a sequel to The Incredibles, I would have been fine with that, because it wasn't like they teased, you know, more story bits at the end of The Incredibles. Anyways, they just teased the fight with the Underminer. That's really it. The first Incredibles, in my opinion, is one of the best cartoon movies ever fucking made, because it really shows, because especially back then, it showed Pixar's depth. It showed that Pixar can, because Pixar had already showed us that they can make like these happy-go-lucky family movies with some sad bits, but they're more or less, you know, just regular happy-go-lucky family movies. But with The Incredibles, they showed us that Pixar can make more. They showed us that Pixar can make a dark-ass kids movie. The Incredibles is probably the darkest kids movie that I've seen in my lifetime. And yes, there have been other, like, you know, dark kids movies and shit, but for the time and even now, The Incredibles balanced it out by still showing its dark moments and by also still being a kid movie. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I can still binge watch it like 2 or 3 times without any issue today. And the sequel is cool. I don't mind the sequel at all. It's a good sequel. The characters were still better. The characters were still good, but you can kind of tell that they watered it down a little bit. It is a bit more like childish, because Disney doesn't really do like the whole, like, you know, dark movies anymore and shit like that. You can kind of tell it's a little more like kid friendly, but it's the kids movie to begin with, so that's really nitpicky, and that's not really a problem that I have. The only issue that I have now is that we're getting another Incredibles movie when there is no need for it. What more story is there really to tell besides making Dash and Violet adults? Like, genuinely, what more story is there to tell? Because really, there aren't that many other interesting superheroes to tell stories about. We know it's gonna be about the Incredibles family. What more can they do? They're not still gonna keep them the same age. I feel like they're gonna age up Dash and Violet to be adults, and they've taken on their parents', you know, superhero duties throughout the world and the city and shit. And then some villain is gonna come around, or they might revive somebody, and it might be a fucking robot syndrome or some shit like that. Something. Or some evil rich business dude wants to create a bunch of superheroes for his own, like, selfish gain, or something generic, something regular as fuck. Nothing really, like, there won't be like a real plot plot twist to it. Like, I have no hope for this because I genuinely don't know what other story they could tell. Because at this point in the Incredibles, world, there is no more story to tell. Syndrome is dead. They defeated the last villain in the Incredibles 2 movie. Like, what other story are we telling? And shit, even in the first Incredibles movie, he told the entire story of that whole universe within that one scene where Bob is looking at the computer and he's seeing that all of the superheroes have died. That literally told us the entire timeline of the verse in like 2-3 minutes. And essentially, like, my main problem is that there's no more story to tell within the Incredibles, world or universe or whatever you want to call it. There's no more story to tell unless we just go like the really predictable route of, Violet and Dash are growing up now, and now we're, looking at their adventures as, superheroes, and Bob and Helen have retired and everything like that. But I just generally don't like, while that would be like okay, like it's not needed. Like, we don't need, another Next Generation, movie or TV show. Like, Next Generation don't really work out because a lot of times the stories that they try to tell with those characters don't really work well. Like, they don't really work out. Like, look at Boruto and look at every other Next Generation show. It never works out at all. But honestly, all in all, I just don't really want these movies to be real. Like, I kind of wanted it to be a prank, but like overall, like, I hope these movies are good. Like, I don't want these movies to be like, bad and terrible and all the other type of shit. But it's like, I just have no expectation for them because Disney hadn't really been delivering the past couple of years, at least for me. Like, they just kind of been and just like okay, like there's nothing really that's stood out really, and they haven't really stood out consistently. It's just kind of been like a 4 movies in a row, then like one like really good one, and it's just like I don't want these movies to be bad. It's just I need Disney to go back to making original movies like they used to. That's really it.